Hello, how is everybody doing? A little bit earlier than normal, but I have a couple things that shake the camera, sorry, that I have to get done. So I figure let's do it early. And then as I go, some guy's sawing on his house. I don't know if you guys heard that. Luckily, you can tell I'm inside. But one day last week, it was beautiful out. I wanted to go live on that back deck, and then 5 minutes before I was to go live, he started sawing, so I had to come in. It's a really annoying noise. Hopefully it won't bother us too much, but I can shut a window if I have to. So yes, it's a little bit earlier today, Virslav, and hope everybody is doing well this morning. Might catch a couple people by surprise, catch them off guard. We sometimes say that in English when it's by surprise, you catch somebody off guard. So it is a little bit earlier. It might not be as convenient for some, but it's convenient for me because I have some things I have to do later on today. The school year is ending. Our last official day is next Friday with my students. And so this last week is students turning in assignments, and I have a couple errands I need to run. Errands. Errands is a good word to use when you have to go to a couple different places. Maybe you have to get some groceries. Maybe you have to get your car fixed. Errands. You can run errands. So, Rod is here. Thank you. Sharef, Virslav, of course. Miho, how's it going? This might be a little bit better time for those who are living in East Asia. It's later there at night, not in the middle of the night when I usually go. Otir, how are you? Michelle? Hope I'm saying that correctly. Mary's here. William, what is going on? Ciao a tutti. Mega K, how are you? Welcome, everyone. Oh, it's 3 p.m. So if people are actually at work, Virslav, where are you, Virslav? 3 o'clock is not a great time, probably, for most people. They might be working. Hopefully, you guys aren't in quarantine anymore. Hopefully, the coronavirus is leaving you. I know our restaurants were supposed to open up on Monday so that you could actually go in and eat. We call it dine in instead of just take out. Take out is when you go to the restaurant, you might not even go inside. They have your food ready for you, and then you take it home to eat. It's called takeout. On Monday, the restaurants were supposed to open for dine-in at 50% capacity, 50%. But our governor said too many cases, and so she has backed off. Use a lot of phrasal verbs here. So she has backed off allowing people to dine in. She pushed it back to probably 2 weeks later, so maybe June 15th, but she never actually gave a date when we could go into restaurants. And if you guys have been in quarantine or lockdown for a long time, you probably know that your economy is not doing as well as it could be if more things opened. So, Vierslav, this is a great question. Is there a big difference between errands and chores? Yeah, not a huge difference. It's just location. So if I say I have to run errands, that would let people know I'm going to different places. If I say I have to do chores, that is almost always going to be at your home. So maybe you're cleaning the bathroom, maybe you're doing yard work, cleaning the kitchen, fixing a door. Those would be chores. Errands would be going to the grocery store, getting your car fixed, maybe getting new shoes, those different kind of errands. Picking up dry cleaning, if that's a thing. So that's a great question. Slightly different. Slightly different. I hope you guys don't mind this shadow on my face. Probably makes for a better picture. Try to brighten it up a little bit in here. Yeah, good question. Good question. Yeah, Raphael, welcome from Brazil. Thinking about all of you guys in Brazil, you are becoming the new US, right? I don't know if anybody is the new US. We just hit 100,000 deaths yesterday, unfortunately, but Brazil, you're right behind, man. Sorry about that. Yeah, there's a big difference right here. Is there any difference between these sentences? Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, you can't use that preposition there. Thanks for having me on. Unless you were a guest on, my YouTube channel. So when you say thanks for having me on, that would tell the listener that you were on the radio, you were on the television, you were a guest somewhere. That broadcast. So yeah, thanks for having me on can only be used in that way. If you went to somebody's house as a guest, you could say thanks for having me over. That's quite common. Thanks for having me in. We wouldn't say that. Thanks for having me in. Yeah. Good question. So very few times you can use thanks for having me on. Vierslav, it's a great question here. What's the difference between takeout and takeaway? Not much, but we use the term takeout most of the time when we're talking about food. I think you might occasionally, like a little, you might hear it sometimes with takeaway food, but it's not as common. So no major difference. Takeout, way more common. All right, so there's some Arabic script. I'm sorry that I can't read Arabic yet, maybe in 10 years. It's a great question. How do I learn English fluently? A great question. And I have found this with Italian right now. I have been studying Italian for 13 months. And there's no way I am even close to being fluent. And I would consider myself an average learner. I'm a little older, in my 40s. I think it might be easier to learn in your teens, in your 20s. So I have that going against me. But I think a lot of other people in here, Mary and Nori and Raphael, Ozma, they could answer it better than I could. But I think the one thing it takes is time and hard work. Spending time with English, lots and lots and lots of time, and then hard work. So I don't believe you can learn a language in a week. I've seen videos, learn English in a week. Or there's a guy I follow, I think his Nathaniel Drew is his name. He says, I learned Italian in a week. No, he didn't. He had a really strong background in Spanish, and he had taken some Italian before. And so it takes a long time. Don't feel frustrated. Look at it in terms of years instead of months or weeks. My opinion. But there are a lot of great language learners in here, better than me. So if anybody wants to chime in, that means add your opinion in the chat. That would be great. Please chime in. Nori's here. What is going on? Oh, Mary. Stores are opening in Iran. Oh, that's good news. Because if you remember, and I know Mary knows better than anyone, it hit China first, and then Italy and Iran both were hit hard next. So that's good news to know that the stores are opening. In Maine, where I live, on Monday, if you weren't here earlier, the restaurants were supposed to open for dine-in. So you could eat inside, 50%. So if you have 100 seats, 50 people could sit and eat in a restaurant. That's been pushed back. But stores to buy clothing will be opening on Monday here. So that's good news. Our cases are way down. So Raphael, we do not use that. A fool's errand. Somebody my age might know it, but I've never once used that in my life. I barely know what it means. I think it's like doing something foolishly, right? Like there's no reason for you to do it. It's going to fail. But we do not use that. Ozma, SU, how are you? Yeah, Rod. You could just take out that in. Yeah, huge economic downturn. Is that what you said? Yeah, downturn is looming for sure. At my school, I don't want to make this all negative, but at my school where I teach, there are already talks of making cuts. And that means losing teachers. And the way my job is safe. My job is safe because I teach English. You need an English teacher. My position is safe, but a couple other people at my school have been cut because of the financial trouble, of the economic trouble. Economic, financial, pretty much synonyms. Sinbot, welcome. Larissa, welcome. Yeah, Rod, unfortunately, Brazil has been in our news a lot. Brazil has been in our news for the coronavirus. Unfortunately, and to be honest, some people in the media are blaming your president. In the United States, some people are saying because he didn't take it seriously enough. I don't want to get into politics, but I think it's tough. So Beta, welcome. Thank you for your nice comment right before we went live. All right, Nori. All right. Yeah, never be embarrassed about a question. Everybody's here to learn. And what I say to my students all the time in class, if you ask a question, I bet there were 5 other people not brave enough to ask that question, but they wanted to know the answer. So it's so awkward, but I still don't know. What's the difference between to think of, to think about? I can think of someone, I mean people. I can think about things. Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to think of, is there a real huge difference? I mean, even I don't know this question. I have to think about this. I just used it. I have to think about this. But yeah, I couldn't say I have to think of this. How would we do the difference here? I might have to write this down and actually give this some thought of when we use think of versus think about, because it could sound awkward. And I don't know, I think about, is that the plural? And I think of, is that singular? I think of, because you could say I think of many things, I think about many things, and that in that case they both work. I think about school starting in the fall. I can't say I think of school starting in the fall. So is it a past tense versus future tense? Let me write that down. I'm not sure. So not a dumb question, not an awkward question. Think about. We'll get to the bottom of this, Nori. Maybe my next live I'll start with this. It's a good question. Think of, think about. But again, like I say in all of the preposition videos that I make, if you have the wrong preposition, the chances are that that native speaker will still know exactly what you mean. It just might sound a little awkward. Most of the time. Most of the time. What? Ozma. So can I give a sentence in the correct way with resolution, testimonial, and dumb? Sure. Resolution, it comes from resolve. And that means to finish up. So the resolution. The resolution of the argument was that they both shook hands. So that was how something ended. The resolution of the movie was happy. There was a happy resolution at the end of the movie. A testimonial is when someone is giving their opinion. Often it is for a product. So maybe you bought a computer and you really liked it, and you left a review on Amazon, and the computer company thought it was so good they wanted to show you in a commercial, and you gave your testimonial saying how good that computer was. So a testimonial is your opinion, and you are stating it about something you've experienced. Trying not to use too many big words there. Dumb, really? Dumb. It could be 2 actually. We don't use it as often, but dumb would mean somebody can't speak. Dumb. Somebody can't speak. But because the connotation of dumb has been changed over the years to mean stupid, we now use the word mute if somebody can't speak. So that's an example of when a word has such a bad connotation that it has to be switched. So 2 definitions for dumb. 1 we no longer use. Dumb. All right. Yuska, how are you? Welcome. I like to play. Oh, yeah. Okay, there is a difference here, Yuska. Let's talk about this. So I will change it to be correct. So I like to play football. No. Okay. So right now, with those two sentences, there is no difference. I like to play football. I like playing football. I mean, there's, you have the infinitive in one with to play, but they both actually mean the same thing. They mean the same thing. I like playing football. I like to play football. Same thing. Raphael, I haven't seen what's it called? The Last Dance, Jordan's documentary. A lot of my friends have, and it was quite the buzz here last week because a lot of people were talking about it. So if we say something is a buzz, that means a lot of people are talking about it. So a couple, like last summer when Stranger Things came out, season 3 on Netflix, there was a buzz about that. So I have not seen that yet. I'm not a huge basketball fan, and but so many of my friends liked it. Oh, Vyacheslav, I would love to. One day, Vyacheslav says I should go on vacation to Italy every year to start speaking. Yeah, when my kids get older, which will be when they're in college, I probably won't be able to afford to go to Italy because I'll be paying so much for their college. But that's the plan that Jamie, my wife, if you've seen her, we would like to go to Italy, maybe work there for a summer. We've talked about going to Italy. Working I might be able to learn Italian much more quickly. And that's a great point. If you are immersed, we say, just totally enveloped. That's a great verb to use. Enveloped means just surrounded. If you are enveloped in the Italian culture, in the Italian language, I'm sure you will learn much more quickly. Good idea. Marsha, how are you? Welcome. Look at that, Sharaf. Couldn't have said it better. Motivation. He's talking about learning English. Nice job, Sharaf. I love it. You need motivation, right? You want to have that desire to learn English. You got to have a schedule that works for you too. Sharaf, I'm wondering how long? I would say an hour a day. That's how much I try to spend on Italian, an hour a day. This morning, I already got in 15 or 20 minutes. I watched a podcast. I translated a few things. So just try to immerse yourself in the language as much as possible. Practice. Yeah, have a goal. My goal, and it changed. When I first started Italian, it was in 1 year, I want to be able to speak pretty well. I've changed that, and that's next April. I want to be able to speak pretty well. So yeah, great point, Sharaf. Some great language learn. You guys actually inspire me every day because I think most of you are not native English speakers. Jamie might be in here, but I think she's driving, so she's not able to participate. But I think most of you are not English native speakers. But you can understand most of what I say. That's impressive. That's very impressive. And it shows me that an American guy speaking English for 40 years can learn another language. You guys do inspire me. Simbat, my favorite. All right, I didn't want to miss anything. I do like Italian. Excuse me. I do like Italian food. Americans in general love Italian food. But my favorite, if we're talking about ethnic, man, I love some Indian dishes. We have a great Indian restaurant in my town. Hopefully, we will still have it after the virus. But man, and pizza, yeah, I love pizza. Some Mediterranean fresh food. I love. We have it's, I would call it mostly Turkish, but there's a Turkish restaurant not far, and they serve the freshest food. So yeah, I like a lot of it. I like a lot of it. Nori. Do you guys use the word daredevil for those who are extremely brave? Maybe in a crazy way? Yeah, I think crazy outweighs the brave. When we say daredevil, a lot of times it's risking your life for unimportant things. A daredevil. This has come up in the chat before. That term reckless. So a lot of people think daredevils are reckless. Yeah. Like I would never want my son to be a daredevil because he would be, risking getting hurt, risking damaging himself for a long time. The meme. No, I don't know this one. I don't know that. Hoomstv? I don't know that. And very few Americans actually use whom. Very few Americans ever use whom. I won't go into to the rules about using who versus whom, but if that ever troubles you, Americans never use whom. Very rarely. I often do because I know who is going to be the subject and whom is in the predicate. It has the action done to it. But if you are worried about who versus whom, it's not taught in American schools. Everybody just uses whom. Quick rule, just like with me and I just talked about this in one of the office videos. I comes at the beginning of the sentence, me comes at the end of the sentence. That rule doesn't always work, but it works 90% of the time. I is in the subject, me is in the predicate. Me has the action done to it. But Americans often use me for everything. They use me in the subject quite a bit. Like, my friend and I are going to the store. That's correct. But most Americans will say, my friend and me are going to the store. But they won't say, me is going to the store. They will say, I am going to the store. Yeah, good, Nori. Absolutely. You guys do motivate me every day, sir. Mega, I would like to hear crazy. Yeah, so crazy has a lot of ways that we use it. So speaking of that daredevil, we may say some of the stunts he or she performs are crazy. If somebody, the Brits, they might say mad. We say crazy. So if someone is kind of, when we do the, if you're listening, you can see me though. I couldn't do this on a podcast. I have my index finger swirling around my ear. In the United States, that is a way we say crazy. Crazy as in they might need some medication to help with their way their mind works. So crazy and mad. The Brits use mad for that. We use crazy. So man, we could say, wow, they're having a crazy sale at the store. Maybe we think it's a really good sale. We say, wow, that's so crazy. So crazy can often be good. Crazy is used a lot. I hope that helps, Mega. So I think there are 3 ways right there. Very different ways to use crazy. I'm trying to find another question. And remember, if I miss your question, it's not because I skipped it. I just didn't see it. So feel free to ask again. If you are new here, please think about subscribing. I try to do this type of live class 3-4 times a week. Ah, very nice, Miho. 62. Nicely done, Miho. I think I've talked about this guy. His name's Steve Kaufman. He's been learning languages for a long time, but he is in his mid 70s. He is, I think, 74 or 5, and he's learning right now. Persian and Arabic are his 2 big words. Just got an email about, so I could see my email pop up there. Just got an email about someone who used to work at my school, who used to. We use that a lot, used to. Who used to work at my school. She no longer works at my school. Apparently she passed away. She died, but I didn't work with her, the email that came up. Very sad, but I didn't know her. William, okay, so 3 months, the basics in 3 months. So William says you can learn the basics in 3 months, but to understand a language very well, it's not within a week. Yeah, very nice. Yeah, and I don't know if she's in here now. Manuel, she and I were speaking a couple months ago, maybe a month ago or so. And she said I think he was an American, and he learned German. He had been learning German for 6 months, and he was able to join in their conversations in the group in 6 months. I cannot after 13 months. I could not add anything to an Italian conversation going on, but I'm a slower learner than others maybe. I worry that I'm missing a lot of questions here. Elena's here. Cecilia's here. Welcome. Vierschloff, upmarket and upscale. I don't know upmarket. I don't know. That might be a business term that I am not familiar with. Upscale, though, we often talk about restaurants. Maybe they are a little more expensive. They serve fancier dishes. You might have to dress a certain way better if it's upscale. Sometimes we talk about upscale clothing, a clothing store. If it's upscale, it's going to be more expensive and what some would say is like fancier, upscale. Not sure about upmarket. Sorry about that. What? Michelle, Brian Shaw. I don't know Brian Shaw. No, an immensely big guy. Nice. But so, Raphael, you are saying that Luca Lamparello. You are saying that you have only been studying for a year and 5 months? Ah. And he's talking about that bi-directional translation. I do know of Luca's work, and I'm sure that is a great technique. He is an Italian polyglot, we say. He knows many languages. Polyglot. If I could spell it correctly, that'd be great. I think that's spelled correctly. Polyglot. He knows many languages. And when you see that bi-directional, so he will go from his, he doesn't even go from his native Italian anymore. I think he will use other languages that he has learned in the past and translate both ways, back and forth. Very difficult. He spends, have you seen that video? He spends, I think, 3 hours a day in the morning because he learns 3 languages at a time. The last I knew, he was learning Hungarian, Danish, and something else. But Hungarian, he has been learning for, I think, 3 years. 3 years. Pretty impressive guy. That's what I'm doing now more. I was reading more at the beginning, and now I'm trying to listen without the text more. But audio and text is really helpful. I use, they're not a sponsor or anything. I've been having a lot of luck with this app called Link. And I think some of you are so advanced in English, this wouldn't help you. But for me, it's a great app. It does cost money though. I think 12 American dollars a year, I believe. 12 American dollars. Yeah, but that's impressive, Raphael. That's too bad. I'm reading your statement on how harsh it is in Brazil. Oh, Nori, you're welcome. You're welcome. Dennis, how are you? Oh no, Liseth. I'm saying that wrong. Liseth. She told me how to say it last night. Liseth. Liseth. I hope that's right. I will get better. Liseth, welcome from Colombia. Simbot. I'm chiming in. Nice. So Simbot says to learn some English, for instance, safety. Safety is everywhere in all areas of economics or any other trade like this. This is the way you win twice. Very nice. Wait, what? Rod is talking about, think of a particular thing. For example, when I think of John Doe, I instantly remember the chocolate I make he likes. Is that it? I don't know. John Doe is a name, and we say Jane Doe sometimes too, if it's a woman. That is if a body has been found, a dead body, and the police don't know the identity, they will call that body John Doe or Jane Doe. So for someone who is not identified yet, John Doe, that's the name, John Doe. All right. Nori says it's so great. I've read this already. But the motivation, I love learning about other cultures, and a lot of times with any language, for me, Italian right now, I just watched this morning, watching a guy move apartments, and he was showing us, the viewers, his new apartment. And it was interesting to see how differently some Italians live from some Americans. It's just that's motivating for me, learning about other cultures. Yeah, Ozma, you can be crazy about learning English. Or right there. Absolutely. Raphael, maybe hindrance. He's wondering, is hindrance formal? Maybe a little bit. I often say hindrance. Hindrance is anything that prevents you from doing something. So maybe you have a learning disability, and that could be a hindrance in learning English. A hindrance doesn't completely stop you, slows you down. So if you had a sprained ankle and you had to run a mile, that would be a hindrance. But hindrance was one of the vocabulary words that I gave my students earlier this year. Hindrance, that was a vocabulary word. So it's used quite a bit. Nori, a great question. Is there a difference between using the verbs participate and attend? Yes. So participate means you are actively involved, you're doing something. If you simply attend, you just might be a witness, you might be a spectator, you just might be watching. So attending just means you showed up, to use a phrasal verb. You just showed up. Maybe you attended a football game, you watched. But to participate, you would have to play in the football game. So if you are Rod, this is a good question. So crazy versus crazy about. So if we add that one word right there, it's usually a good thing. Like you might be crazy about your new girlfriend or boyfriend. As Ozma said, she could be crazy about learning English, which would be a very good thing. You're just totally invested. You're very excited. So you could be crazy about your favorite restaurant opening soon. So those are good things. All right, hang on here, Nori. But Brent, if you want to say something that these days you still do something regularly, right, you wouldn't say I used to. No. Right. I'm going to just change that with I used to. Okay. Okay. Let's dissect this. So, if you want to say something that you still do these days, you still do it, right? You wouldn't say I used to. So I I still go on a walk every morning. It means you're doing it every single morning now, probably tomorrow, definitely yesterday. I used to walk every morning means you no longer do it. But if you say I tend to, that means sometimes you do. Like if you had a choice, most days you will pick to walk. So I tend to walk most mornings. You might say something like that. So I tend to get angry when I am hungry, meaning most of the time when you're hungry, you are likely to be angry. So, wow, three very different things. I hope that helps. Can be confusing. Excuse me. Um, oh, Mary's waiting for an answer. I definitely didn't see your question. Sorry, Mary. Just ask again. I must have missed it. Liability. So, Raphael, liability means something bad happened and you're responsible for it. So, yeah, that's a like an insurance term, possibly. Libel means it's the verb meaning responsible for it. So, if my son, since he's under 18, I'm responsible for him. If he breaks my neighbor's window, I'm liable for that. I'm liable. I have to pay that. Liable. Oh, yeah. Nori and Mirani. We're having a nice exchange. I do have an Arabic learning book. See, one day, I have a lot of them, but, and I have looked at it before. Where is it? My Arabic, right there. One day, I hope, but will it happen? I don't know. I'm nervous. I'm nervous about learning Arabic. For English speaker, Spanish, Italian, maybe French, Portuguese. Portuguese. I have a lot to learn. Rod was helping me last night. But Arabic, different script, right? Right to left. That would be high level. And I know what? It'll take 5 years, right? For an American guy my age with a reasonable amount of time, that's 5 years, Arabic. 5 years, at least. Marcia is wondering about Brazilian food. Oh, I see your question, Mary. We once had a Brazilian barbecue place, or a Brazilian steakhouse, and they would have this great meat, and they would cut it off the stick, I guess you would call it. I went there once with my wife and my brother and my sister-in-law. We loved it, but then they closed down. I don't know. So we don't have a lot of Brazilian food in my area, unfortunately. All right, Mary, I saw your question. Yes. Is it correct to say I pulled through? Yeah. We often use that phrasal verb to mean something was very difficult, but you accomplished it. It was difficult, but you were able to get it done. Yes, perfectly used. Thank you, Raphael. To answer that question about upscale and upmarket. So upmarket, it must be British. So thank you, Raphael. Yeah, Nori, since you brought it up, and hopefully everybody you're speaking to will know that English isn't your native language. So just like any language, there are things that we use every day because we use it so often. We know these little subtle, I like using that word, subtle, so small you probably can't see. But if you say that you exaggerate to a person, it's almost like they're lying. And sometimes we say stretch. stretch the truth, which is a nice way to say that you are lying or you are exaggerating. So sometimes when you use exaggerate in a certain way, it might sound like lying. So especially if you ask, why are you exaggerating? Why are you exaggerating? There's a bad connotation to that. Meaning, why are you making this a bigger deal? Why are you possibly inventing or making up some details? So you're welcome, Mary. You're welcome, Mary. Simbat. Yes, it is a Zamboni. I'm not sure how to spell that. Zamboni. And I believe, isn't it an Italian American that came up with the Zamboni? Let's see, how do we spell Zamboni? I think it might be Zamboni. Now, the dictionary, I think that is how you spell it. Zamboni, it's basically, so Simbat, hockey, right? Played on ice. And the skates will make the ice rough and bring up little pieces of the ice. So the Zamboni comes in between games and makes the ice smooth. Zamboni. And it is named after the man who invented it. Zamboni. Zamboni. I think that's correct. I think that's correct. But oh, very nice. I don't dare say that. That sounds like it might have something to do with fire, Rod. Does that have something to do with fire, the steakhouse? I believe, yes, stretch the truth, Raphael, would probably be a euphemism. Yes, yes. So we don't want to come right out and say, you lied. Stretch the truth. Some people who support our president, they might say, he stretches the truth. Not lying, stretches the truth. So there. Oh man, Sharaf, thank you for the Arabic. My man, thank you, sir. It's very kind of you. Zabeda is wondering about feeling reciprocated. Very big word. That would probably be a little too formal when you say, man, how could you say it? It would be extremely formal. But reciprocate means to give back. So you've received some nice words and you want to reciprocate them, means you want to give them back. But I think meeting a person for the first time, that might be a little too formal and might not sound natural to most Americans. Yeah, but you might be able to pull it off. You might be able to make it work. Man, I try not to use too many phrasal verbs, but you might be able to make it work, pull it off. Zabeda. Well, if these words are confusing to you, I bet they're confusing to other people. So let's talk about them. Something that is subtle is something that you almost can't see or feel. So especially with connotation with words. It's so subtle that we only know if a word has a bad connotation because we use it all the time. You can't find it in the dictionary. It's very subtle. We could talk about a subtle change in wind direction. Maybe the wind is blowing this way, but then it subtly moves here. So most people wouldn't feel it. Only a couple people would notice that subtle change. Very small. Humble is the opposite of being prideful. It's the opposite of being prideful or boastful. So if someone has, I'm trying not to use any humble. So Michael Jordan, we mentioned him, a great basketball player. If he went around telling everyone, hey, I'm the best, look at me, that's not being humble. Humble is not bragging. We also say bragging too. Humble, it's respecting other people. Even if you are the best, don't say you're the best to everybody. Stay humble. And what's the last one? Oh, hustle. Hustle, that means to move quickly for the most part. There's some slang with it, but yeah. If you are late for an appointment, you might have to hustle across town, meaning to go very quickly. Yeah, that one's not too bad. Look at that. Nori, modest. Exactly. Humble means modest. Nicely done. Oh my gosh. We have a Japanese steakhouse. Mio, we have a Japanese steakhouse. It's called C40. C40. And it's a Japanese steakhouse. Yeah, and it's one of the best. It's very expensive. It's upscale. But yeah, Japanese food. The Japanese language definitely worries me. I'm nervous. But a lot of Americans are learning Japanese right now. It's very popular with teenagers because of anime, Japanime. A lot of younger people are learning Japanese in the United States. We is here. What is going on? Looking for more questions. I hope I'm not skipping any. It seems I got through the chat pretty quickly, so I think I skipped some. Yeah. Maybe I didn't. But if anybody has any other questions right now, I'll take it right now. I do need to get going in about 5 minutes, but any other questions? Okay, so Raphael, yeah, let's talk about the slang side of hustle. There is a good connotation and there's a bad connotation. It does come from, yes, drug dealing. That might be your hustle. Drug dealing, that might be the way you get money. But now, I think I did this in a video. Sometimes we have a side hustle. That's a good thing. A side hustle, it's how you make money on the side. So I'm a full-time teacher. That's not my side hustle. But if I got a job waiting tables or maybe tutoring English online, like this YouTube channel could be my side hustle. Side hustle. So side hustle is an extra way you make money. So not your main job, but sometimes we call it a part-time job too. Part-time job. Some people pick up part-time jobs because they have extra time and they want extra money. James, welcome, man. tough one here because they're basically the same thing. Basically, I'll add another one too. We talked about it already. So, James, welcome. If you are new here, don't forget to subscribe. I don't recognize your name. James, welcome, man. What's the difference between outcome, consequence, result, and I added resolution because all of those pretty much the same. Now, and they mean the end of something. So maybe you're talking about a race, running race. You could say, what was the outcome? Meaning who won? What was the result? What was the resolution? You might not use resolution in that point, but consequence is the one big one because consequence often means there was punishment or there was something bad that happened at the end. So if you commit a crime, the consequence could be you go to jail. So again, it's the end of something, but when you say consequence, the connotation is bad. So all four of those terms mean the end of something. Oh, Raphael, it does. The hustle and bustle of the market. Nice one. So when we say hustle and bustle together, it still has that hustle, meaning very fast, but it also, hustle and bustle might not be a bad thing, but just a lot of energy. So we know that day, if you say there was hustle and bustle at the market, that it was busy. The market was busy that day. Hustle and bustle. People buying things, people selling things. Not always a bad thing though. Mega, no. Side business? Yeah, it wouldn't be wrong. Great point. But when you say side business, that implies the person owns it. So they are the boss. Side business. They have a side business. That means they own it. Vierschlaf, yeah. In my school, he asked, can a student choose what foreign language to learn? In my school, because it's a middle school, not quite a high school yet, I teach before they get to high school. They only take 2 languages, French and Spanish. And I heard a rumor. Don't tell anyone. I heard a rumor that French was going away. French would not be offered next year, only Spanish. I don't know how that is going to work, but at high school, when they get to high school, and they will be 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18, those ages, they can choose between 3 foreign languages. They have French, Spanish, and Latin. Latin is still offered at most high schools, which I was just listening to a podcast yesterday. For those Japanese speakers or Arabic speakers, it's hard because the more advanced our words get, the more they are like Italian and Spanish. So even though English is a Germanic language, when we get really high into medical terms, more of our words are alike. If you're a Romance language speaker, English, it becomes easier the harder the words. And this person I was listening to had been learning Chinese for 10 years. He has a YouTube channel, Shoma. He's an American guy, but he goes around to different parts of New York City, white guy, and speaks near perfect Chinese. So he was talking about he's learning Spanish now. And he talked about how in some ways Spanish is very different from learning Chinese with all the different tenses and genders for nouns. But it was a good one. Ibrahim, welcome, welcome. Oh, Simba, yeah, you're welcome, man. You're welcome. It's fun. I'll tell you, my brain says thanks for the dedication. Yeah, my brain at the end is sometimes really spent. We've used that before too, spent. It's a good challenge for my brain to try to come up with all the answers to these questions. Yeah, Miho, in the United States, Japanese anime is very popular too. Talking about overlap, nice. Simbot nailed it right there. Nori, that's another one there too. Yeah, the seam, I'll just copy and paste that. Yeah, not sure if I could add anything to that. Perfectly said. Overlap. So I can actually show you right now. I'll do it with my hands. My ring, the hand with my ring is overlapping my other hand. So that's what Nori was talking about with a seam. I don't know, but I'm sure this, I can't see, but I'm sure this seam on the collar of my t-shirt overlaps another, I can feel it actually. It does. And then you don't, like Simbot was talking about, you don't want to schedule classes that overlap because you'll have to leave your first class early so you're not late for your second class. Yeah, good term to know. James is wondering if I get confused talking to someone from Australia. I think if we do, we have to slow down a little bit. But other than that, we can communicate pretty easily. If I was talking to someone from Australia, I would just stay away from some slang that I knew was American. But those phrasal verbs, I think we use the same ones. So yeah, it's pretty easy to talk with someone from England or Scotland. Yeah, not bad with English. Shoma, you know that guy? Yeah, he's awesome. He's blowing up YouTube. Blowing up in a good way, meaning lots of views, a lot of people are checking out his channel. Yeah, Ibrahim, Matt versus Japan. That guy, I've listened to a lot of him, and he takes learning a language to another level. He's very dedicated, very serious, and I think what he does is really high level, unlike Luca or Shoma. But yeah, Shoma, I'm not sure if you've seen, because he lives in New York, and New York has been under a strict quarantine. So he has decided that he would try to learn Spanish in a month maybe? Now he's trying that a month, and he seems very intelligent, but he says he's been learning Chinese for 10 years. And Fujianese, I think he can speak. Cantonese, he can also speak. All right, any other questions? Oh, wow. Ibrahim and Raphael both mentioned Matt versus Japan at the same time. Yeah. So, if there are any other questions, I'll take a couple few ones. Oh, it's 70. Yeah. What time is it? It's gotta be 9:10 now? Yeah, it's 9:10 where I live. 9:10 in the morning. Yeah, Raphael, I do know that guy too. Akina, I think you say his name. I want to see him speak more, though. I don't. He does these little clips of him speaking, and I think he grew up in a Spanish-speaking family, maybe. But yeah, according to him, I would like to see more of his video of him speaking to the camera with subtitles. So speak in Japanese for 5 minutes, put subtitles for us. I wonder how fluent he is. I question him. Matt versus Japan, that guy's probably pretty fluent. Shoma, pretty fluent, because they speak so much on camera. That guy, Akina, doesn't speak as often. So the days of, I might be wrong. Days of French and Swedish. Is that his name? So he has a YouTube channel. See if I can search it. And he talks about how he kind of calls them out. I'll put a link. I think I can put a link to his channel. Yeah, actually I can. I think. Let's click on it. I found what he was saying pretty fascinating. And I can put a link if you want. But I just wish they would speak more on camera. Look at this. Can the boomer do it? I don't know if you can click it. Yeah, I think you can. So if you want to check that guy out, he talks about, he's been learning Swedish. He's Australian, I believe. He's been learning Swedish for 3 years or so, which if you know anything about Swedish and English, they're both Germanic languages, and a lot of Swedes and Danes and Norwegians can speak English very well. All right. Oh. So, intern. How would I use that, Nori? How would I intern? It's almost like allowing someone to take a turn. Let's use the Italian. This is not a true statement, but I spent 2 years learning Italian. In turn, I was able to live in Italy for the summer and speak pretty freely. So in turn, it's not but. You mentioned it's not but. It's almost the opposite of but, meaning because this one thing happened, in turn, I was able to do this other thing. So trying to come up with some can't come up with any good ones, but that one works. Because I had spent 2 years learning Italian, in turn I was able to go to Italy and speak. Something like that. Opposite of but, though. The opposite of but. But means I wanted to go to Italy, but I didn't have enough money. So it's almost the opposite. Almost the opposite. Yeah, check that guy out. I subscribe to his channel. I like him quite a bit. He seems to take language learning, make it real. Like, Not that I learned Spanish in a month. It takes time. And it helps me not feel frustrated. That it reminds me that language learning takes time, takes effort. There's no magic pill you can pop into your mouth. It's learning the language. And that other guy, Steve Kaufman, I like him a lot. He owns Link. That again, not a sponsor. I would love them to be a sponsor one day, but not a sponsor. But I do like them. Yeah, Miho, check that guy out. Miho did not know about Matt versus Japan. I would be interested to hear what you have to say about his Japanese. He speaks Japanese on camera quite a bit. And he is the opposite of a polyglot. He is the opposite of a Luca, where Luca can speak 15 languages pretty well. Pretty well. Matt versus Japan wants to learn everything there is about one language, Japanese. As far as I know, that's what he's been doing. So, yeah, in turn, hence. Yeah, we don't use either of those very often, but absolutely. Hence, meaning, yeah, because I did this, hence, I did this. Yes. Linking to, nice one, Nori, nice one. Yeah. As a result, yes, Aziz. As a result. So definitely the opposite of but. Therefore, yeah, therefore will work. Yeah. Therefore. Because I do these live lessons, therefore I hope you are becoming better at English. In turn, as a result. Yeah, nice job, guys. Nice job. All right, so I am going to get out of here. Oh, Aziz, let me answer your question before I leave here. Is there a difference between wind and breeze? Yes and no. A breeze is always a light wind, and the connotation is that it's nice. A lot of times we'll say a cool breeze. So they're basically the same, but wind can be stronger. Wind. Breeze is always a nice word. It's always welcomed. Ah, you feel that breeze? It's nice. Wind is more neutral. Yeah. So hope that helped. Oh, no way. I'm checking that out. So Kaz Japanese. All right. Got him. I'll hit that subscribe button, and so I will see some of his videos. Nice. Yeah, Japanese, I mean, to me, as an English speaker, Japanese, Arabic, Russian, languages that don't use the Latin script, very intimidating to me. A Hungarian, German, very intimidating to me. Yeah. So, Cecilia is here. Welcome. All right, so I hope this was helpful. It's early. My wife, Jamie, is at school. My daughter is gone. My son, I have to run some errands with my son, and I'm dropping him off at his friend's house. They're staying outside mostly. So I might be back here later, maybe an unannounced live. Just depends on what I have going on today, how busy my school is actually. So an unannounced live stream. I don't know. We'll see. But just make sure if you have subscribed and you click that bell for all notifications, you will get the notification that I'm going live. And if you can make it, great. If not, I'll see you tomorrow. I will put up a video of my son. We had his birthday party yesterday, and because of social distancing, people having to stay apart, what happened was people rode down the street and threw presents at my son for his birthday. So I'm going to make a little video on that explaining what birthday drive-bys are and showing you. And we have talked about drive-by. Well, I have in one of my videos on prepositions. So I'll show you a drive-by, birthday drive-by. That's how birthdays are being celebrated now. And he had so many people, and I'm sure he felt good. It was a surprise. Jamie didn't want him to know. He said he didn't want one, but once it happened, and it was pretty sad though to see all of these people just go by in their car, but you couldn't talk to them, really. You couldn't spend any time with them. Some very good friends that we haven't seen in 3 or 4 months. You really can't get together. And I'm sure most of you are feeling something like that, where maybe family or friends, it's not quite the same, watching them on video or whatever. So, Nguyen, how are you? I'm about to leave. I'm sorry. Good evening. I'm sure it's pretty late in Vietnam, isn't it? Welcome. Well, I'm doing well, Nguyen. Do you have a quick question I can answer? Because I need to leave pretty soon. My son's still not up, but I need to leave pretty soon. Yeah, Nori, it was. I got a little choked up. Choked up means like you almost start crying, but you can hold it in. Choked up. Got a little choked up at how many people like my son and wanted to come out and celebrate his birthday. It was like, ooh, a little choked up. Something in my eye. Ooh, bright out here today, isn't it? Yeah. So it was good. It was good. What's the point of doing this versus what's the purpose of doing this? Is there a difference? I think that's the same thing, isn't it? What's the purpose of doing this versus what's the purpose of doing it? No, they're the same. Ibrahim. They're the same. Oh. When any advice on improving pronunciation? So what I do, and I am not the expert in learning English here, or learning a foreign language. Most of you know better than I do, but what I do is shadowing for Italian. Now, going from English to Italian is not as difficult as going from Vietnamese to English. It's very, very difficult, especially with so many different sounds in Vietnamese and the tones. So what I do though is I'll take a sentence, maybe from a YouTube video or a simple story and an audiobook that I'm listening to, and I will try to pronounce sentence by sentence. I listen, and then immediately I speak as well as I can. Some people record themselves speaking. I haven't done that yet, to see how they can improve over several months. But that might be something that you could do. And of course, you probably all know that you can change the speed And once this is on replay, if I am speaking too quickly or if I'm speaking too slowly, you can adjust on YouTube how quickly I speak. So if you are watching a YouTube video in English and the speaker is speaking too quickly, you can slow it down and maybe shadow. Ibrahim, I just saw. Pronunciation. So I hope that helps, Nguyen. And, don't feel badly if people are speaking Romance languages. Most European languages, the pronunciation for English will come a lot more easily than Vietnamese. How many tones in Vietnamese? 7? Is it 7 tones in Vietnamese? 7 tones? All right. So, Nguyen, for rather, that means you have 2 choices. And you want to do one more than the other. So you could say, I'd rather have ice cream than cake right now. So you have the choice of having ice cream or cake. You say, I'd rather have cake, meaning more. I want that more, rather. Sometimes we say, though, for a lot or a little bit. So it's rather cloudy today. So sometimes we use rather as like more than a little bit. You could say, I'm rather hungry right now. Rather hungry. I'd rather have cake. But I'm rather hungry right now. Hope that helps. 2 very different ways to use rather. Saying hello to Sahar from Iraq. Sahar, welcome. How are you? I think Zobaida, right, is from northern Iraq, Kurdistan. There are some people from Iran in here sometimes. So welcome, Mary. Oh. Mary is talking about the Laugh Factory. So there is a famous comedy, like little arena, little place called the Laugh Factory. I think it's in New York City, right, Mary? New York City? So different comedians speaking different languages. Nice. Oh, James, you're from Australia. Nicely done. All right, so I'm going to have to check that out. James, it's going pretty well. But I do need to get going. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. It was almost an hour and a half today. It's fun. I planned on doing it for an hour, and we went an hour and a half because it was so fun. So thank you all you're welcome, Raphael. You're welcome, Shref. My son will be getting up and we have some errands to do, but I'll try to get back on here a little later if anybody would like. So we'll definitely do it tomorrow. I think it's going to be raining tomorrow. So thank you guys. Thank you so much. We will see you sometime soon. Adios, amigos.